go ahead. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited for you to be here today to learn about 4 common career mistakes and what to do about them. This workshop is designed to help you increase your awareness and shift your approach. A little bit about my background. I'm Erica Mattison, and I have had a long and winding career journey from career services early on in my career after getting my bachelor's degree in psychology to working in constituent services in state government in my home state of Massachusetts to working in career coaching after lots of people came to me with interest in my career journey working in sustainability. And I found myself giving lots of career support. Over the years, I worked as an environmental protection lobbyist. I built sustainability programs. I led sustainability communications in higher education. And so I was in a lot of different roles. But over about the past decade or so, I've been providing career coaching services on the side. And then I decided to go all in with my coaching practice just under 2 years ago because there was so much interest from people who are mission driven, who are looking to lead fulfilling, rewarding careers. And it can be really hard to figure out how to do it. How can you pivot from one industry, sector, or role type to another? How can you do work that meets your need for flexibility, your desire for adequate compensation, whatever it might be that you're looking for? It can be very hard to navigate that alone. And so tapping into my background in sustainability, in higher education, in nonprofit leadership, in psychology, as well as my degrees in public administration and law, I decided to go all in with my coaching practice. I invested in my own learning and development. I became a certified career coach through the National Career Development Association and became a master certified life coach. And so I bring all of that experience to my work with my clients to help them navigate career questions and take intentional action. And today you'll be hearing a little bit from one of my clients, Sarah, who I'm excited for you to hear from. And before we get into the conversation with Sarah, I'm going to be sharing with you some common career mistakes that you might be making and what you can do about them. So get your worksheets ready. And the goal of today is to help you increase your awareness of what's getting in the way of moving forward and what needs to change so that you can advance your goals. So get your worksheets ready. Jess, if you could please put the link in the chat again for folks who might still need to download that worksheet, that would be terrific. And let's go ahead and get started. And if you stay until the end, you'll receive an invitation. So make sure you stick around. So the first mistake you're going to want to write down on your worksheet is that you're not being clear about your skills. And this can take the form of, what am I good at? The question is, how does this apply to you? So you're not being clear about your skills, what are you good at, and how does this apply to you? And what the solution to number one is to get clear on your skills. So what are 2 to 3 skills that you possess that you enjoy using? That's what you're going to want to go ahead and take a note of for number one for the solution here. What are a couple of skills that you possess that you enjoy using? And what you'll see on the right here is that I have a graphic from a skill scan report. Now, you'll be hearing more about SkillScan later, but this is one of the tools that I use with my clients to help them really get clear on their skills. You might have skills in the area of management and leadership, or creative skills, or communication skills, perhaps analytical skills, or relationship building, or maybe technical and hands-on kinds of skills. So go ahead and put in the chat, what are 2 to 3 skills that you possess that you enjoy using? And what I'll say about these skill categories is that you'll notice that there are these overarching categories like management and leadership and relationships. And then within those, you'll notice that there are different individual skills. So things like initiating, building a team, coaching, leading, and so forth. And this is actually pulled from a client's skill scan report. So these are their actual scores, and 12 is the top. So where you see the 12s, those are areas where that person is very strong, and they also consider those skills to be really important. Where you see 9s, that means that it's something that they possess as a skill, but it's not necessarily quite at that level of the 12. It's not necessarily quite as important for them. And then you go down to 8s and 6s and so forth. So for you, if you had to guess, what would you say are 2 to 3 skills that you possess that you enjoy using? Let's go ahead and see those responses in the chat. And also jot them down on your worksheet. So we're starting to see the responses come in, planning and designing. Great. So when we look at the skill scan report, for instance, we're seeing that the planning is something that comes within the management and leadership category. Somebody else is saying writing and editing. We can find that under the communication category. We're seeing other people saying things around brainstorming. So I see that within the creative category. And so this report that was generated for this client, this was based on a skills assessment that they took, which is a quick online assessment that I have my clients take. And I will be actually speaking at a SkillScan webinar tomorrow, where I'll be sharing another client success story and how the SkillScan assessment and report were extremely beneficial for them in their career development and helped them clarify things about themselves, help them feel more confident going into job interviews, and ultimately helped them really turn around their job search and land a fantastic leadership role. So that's the first piece, is really getting clear about your skills, not just what are you good at, but what's important to you. What do you really enjoy using? And there's the question, what was that first mistake again? Yes. So that was that you are not being clear about your skills. You're feeling like, what am I good at? And you're really not sure. Maybe you're questioning, what am I good at? Jess, I'm going to ask you to repeat the mistakes in the chat in case folks miss them, because we're going to be kind of moving rapidly here. So again, that first one is not being clear about your skills. And so a tool that can help you get clear on your skills is working with a coach, taking a skills assessment, and getting your personalized skills report. This is just a snapshot from what is a 16-page report. This is part of the summary of that report. All right, so now that you're starting to think about, what are my skills, right? What are my transferable skills? Things that I can take from one setting to another. Let's talk about a second mistake you might be making. And this is undervaluing yourself. Okay, this is really common. I want you to think about how this applies to you. Go ahead and take a moment to consider that, jot down some thoughts, and then go ahead and share in the chat. How might you be undervaluing yourself? I'm going to give you a quick example. Oftentimes I work with clients and they think that they have to start all over again because they want to make a pivot from one sector, industry, or function to another. Okay. And maybe you've been working on housing policy and you want to switch to climate, or maybe you've been in the for-profit sector and you really want to work in government. Okay. Those are just a couple of examples of what some type of pivot might look like. And so the mistake that a lot of people make is they think, I have to go from here down to here and take a massive pay cut because I'm making a switch. When in fact, if you read some of the books that are on my recommended reading list on my website, you will learn that when you make a change, not only can you often maintain your current level of compensation, you can actually often increase it. And I'll be honest, most of my clients are successful in doing that. It takes knowing what your worth is in the marketplace. It takes believing in yourself. It takes doing research. And it takes advocating for yourself and really prioritizing what's important to you. We'll get into this a little bit more throughout today's event. Okay. But I'm wondering, how might you be undervaluing yourself? How might you be saying, you know, I'm going from this salary, but I think maybe I need to go way down to this salary and basically start all over again, maybe come in at an entry level role. I have to tell you, that's probably not actually your solution. What I do think is your solution is to really clarify your budget. I recommend to clients, and I work with them to do this, that they come up with a basic budget. Okay, now I have a disclaimer that I am not a financial planner, okay? But I really look to the clients to figure out for themselves what are their living expenses so that they can be realistic about what it is that they are looking to make it as a salary. And I don't want them to just stop with what they think they need to live off of, because I'll tell you, if you are used to being undercompensated, maybe you're a person of color, maybe you're a woman, maybe there are certain aspects about you or your career that have, you know, maybe you've experienced the pay gap, okay? And so maybe you have not been getting fairly compensated for the work that you have been doing. And so the problem with anchoring your ideas about what you should be getting paid based on what you have been making is that you are likely perpetuating underpaying yourself. Okay. If you're used to getting paid $75,000 a year, but you really could be making 90 or 120 or what have you, we need to get you away from thinking that 75 is all you can get paid. Now, I don't work with people who only care about making a lot of money. That's not really who I serve. I work with people who want to make a good living and they want to do work that makes a positive difference in the world. Okay. So I'm not all about money, but at the same time, it's important for you to be able to pay down your school debt. It's important for you to be able to save for retirement. It's important for you to be able to go on vacation sometimes, or do that kitchen renovation, or buy those cross-country skis, or go to that restaurant that you want to try. Okay. There are, you know, maybe you want to support charities. There are lots of things that you can do to improve your financial situation and contribute to the kind of life that you want to live. All right. So not only do you just create this basic budget, but then I encourage clients to say, okay, now let's actually add 20% to that. Okay. That's that middle budget. And then actually let's create another budget that's somewhat aspirational that is 40% higher than that basic budget. And so what you do is you create a range for yourself. Okay. So instead of just saying, well, I'd be happy with this amount of money, now you can really have this more holistic view of, you know, this is the range that I'm looking at. Okay. So on your worksheet, I want you to write in what are the income floor, the minimum, okay, and the ceiling, the maximum that you are creating for yourself. Because it really starts with your thinking. And anybody who's willing to share that, go ahead and put it in the chat. I know this can feel sort of awkward to share this, but we have to get more comfortable talking about money. We have to get more comfortable talking about compensation, talking about the pay gap, talking about advocating for ourselves and getting paid our worth in the marketplace. And so your budget is a really important piece of this. You know, I've worked with clients who've said things like, I don't really know what I'm looking to make, or, you know, I don't know what my expenses are. I don't know what my target salary is. And that's why this is really important work to do. You want to, of course, combine looking at your budget with looking at what it is realistic to get paid for the kind of work that you're looking to do. And so looking at a lot of job postings is going to help you do that. And that's part of the work that I help my clients do. All right, so now we're going to move on to mistake number 3. I want to know how this applies to you, and that is thinking it's impossible. Jess, if you could go ahead and put this mistake number 3, thinking it's impossible. There we go. It's in the chat. So this might sound like, you know, that won't work because fill in the blank. All right. What do you feel like just won't work in your career? So how does this apply to you? Go ahead and write some thoughts down on your worksheet, share them in the chat. Because until you believe that something is possible in your career, like making a great living while using skills that you enjoy using and making a positive difference on something that's important to you, why should anybody else believe that that's possible for you? It needs to start with you. And as you can see in this graphic, I say, at the bottom, we have this belief that it's impossible. But then as we change our thinking, as we do some mindset work, perhaps with the help of a coach, we can get to the belief that, okay, well, it's not impossible, it's just difficult. And then from there, as we keep working on our mindset and we do the necessary work, actually within weeks, we can start to believe, actually, you know what, it can really happen. And from there, the next step is to say, not only can it happen, this vision that I have for my life that I've been developing, but I'm inviting it to happen. And when that happens, it's amazing what starts to take place. And I'm starting to see in the chat, some of you are sharing that you have trouble with comparison with others. Yes, join the club, right? This is really common. You see other people that seem like they're ahead of you and where you are, and it feels intimidating and impossible at times. So, what I would say to this is, again, I have some great reading recommendations on my website. Jess, if you can share that link again in the chat. What you'll see in some of these books is things around the notion that when we compare ourselves to others, we're really setting ourselves up for misery. And so instead of comparing to others, what we need to do is compare to our past self. We need to say, look at all the progress I've made. Look at how I've invested in myself. Look at the learning and growth that has happened, whether it's I just finished my PhD, which is what one of you shared at the beginning of the event, or I'm in the midst of a master's degree, which another one of you shared. What have you, it's these kinds of things that you're taking, or maybe it's a workshop, or maybe it's some reading that you're doing, or some volunteer work, whatever it is that you're doing to invest in yourself. It's important to celebrate that and then to use that to motivate you to keep going. And that can really help you get out of that vicious cycle of comparing to others. And then one of you shared about your salary range, and you've, I like that you've used the word range. That's really valuable because, it can be difficult when it's just, this one number, really, that doesn't give you a whole lot of, flexibility. So having a range that you can feel really comfortable with is extremely important. And of course, you don't want to forget about things like taxes that are going to, reduce what your actual take-home pay is. So it's important to take those kinds of things into account. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next mistake so that we have a nice amount of time to talk with Sarah. So, the solution, of course, here is to build momentum. Okay, so building momentum through small wins. So I'm curious, what is a way that you can engage with a topic that's of interest to you? Is it writing an article that you publish on LinkedIn or on your website or some other website, Substack or something else? Can you interview somebody who does work that's really interesting to you? What is it that you can do to engage with something that's interesting to you? Is it listening to certain podcasts or reading certain publications? Is it volunteering with certain organizations? So many different ways that you can start to build some momentum. And don't forget about the importance of your network as you're doing this. Okay, this is really about people. And so let's see, we have, some comments coming in the chat. We have some things around, that you're attending this webinar and that's an action that you're taking. And I want to applaud you for that because you could be doing any number of other things right now, but you're here, you're investing in your learning and your growth, and you're taking those steps. All right, so next, mistake number 4, go ahead and put this in your worksheet. And Jess, if you could add it to the chat, please. Trying to go it alone. How many of us have done this? We're banging our heads against the wall, trying to figure something out. Meanwhile, there are all these other people who have already figured it out, okay? It's this fascinating human phenomenon. So I'm curious, how does this apply to you? Have you ever tried to go it alone with a job search, with figuring out how to get a promotion, with making a career pivot, with a difficult project at work, maybe serving on a nonprofit board and having certain challenges, any of those kinds of things? How does this apply to you? And if you're not sure exactly how, but you know it has, just go ahead and give a thumbs up in the chat or a yes. And so what can you do about it? So you want to make sure that you're getting support, and you're here today doing that. And I want to ask you, what are 3 sources of support that could be valuable for you? Go ahead and write it on the worksheet. Go ahead and put it in the chat. What are some different resources that could help you with whatever your situation is? If you're looking to make a career pivot, if you're looking to make your current work more rewarding, if you're looking to get a promotion, if you're looking to learn about an area like climate or sustainability, and you're just kind of not really sure how to get involved in that space, what are 3 sources of support that could be valuable for you? And so I'm seeing some responses coming in the chat, that, having accountability buddies is helpful. Talking things out with people so that you can see different opportunities, having mentors. Absolutely. And so I'm curious what you're curious about. I'd like you to write down a topic that, is just you're feeling like a spark around a certain topic right now. Go ahead and put it on your worksheet and share it in the chat. And then in a moment, we're going to hear from Sarah, and she's going to tell how she was able to turn around her job search. What are you feeling curious about? Something you'd like to learn more about, something you'd like to explore? And as folks continue to share those, we're going to start to transition now. So I wanted, have you think about what is a specific action you are planning to take and a target date. And the reason is that when you can get specific, you are so much more likely to actually do the thing. Now, this can be a baby step. Okay. This could be reaching out to one of the people who you've identified as a resource. And we're starting to see some more questions coming in the chat. Somebody's asking about LinkedIn. So I haven't updated my profile in like 10 years. Okay. Is it better to just start a new account rather than go through the hassle of editing and updating everything? I would say that you probably have a good foundation to start building upon. I work with a certified resume writer and LinkedIn writer. She focuses on that. And her process, I'll just explain it to you quickly so you understand how it works, is she will, when she's doing the done for you service, what she'll do is she will interview our client and get a lot of information from them. And then she uses that to remake your resume. She starts with the resume. And that is based on a specific opportunity of interest to you. Okay. It's really important that you have a target role identified. So you want to have that job posting. Okay. And then she'll go back and forth with you with some revisions. And then you'll have this resume that you feel really amazing about that showcases your relevant accomplishments. It's very specific and quantifiable. And then she'll use that to remake your LinkedIn profile. And so I would say you probably don't want to start from scratch. You probably could just have your profile updated. If you don't want to do it all on your own, working with somebody who's very experienced at this can be a huge time saver. It is an investment, but it can save you a ton of time and it can help you achieve your results much quicker. And it can really also help you improve your confidence because you feel so much more ready to speak about your qualifications, your experiences, and so forth. She does also have a more DIY option that I make available to folks, and that is where she basically gives you a critique of your existing materials. Okay, so you have a couple different options there. All right. But I would say in general, you do want to have an up-to-date LinkedIn. It's extremely important because when you apply for roles, people are going to Google you. And one of the first things that is likely to come up is your LinkedIn profile. And so it's really important that you have one that is helping you. It's something that's available to people 24 hours a day, every day of the year. And it's really a missed opportunity when you don't have a LinkedIn profile that speaks to your relevant experiences, qualifications, skills, and so forth. All right, so now we're going to turn things over to Sarah. I'm going to be interviewing her for a few minutes, and you'll get to hear her success story and what worked for her. So Sarah was transferring from academia and ultimately into a data role in clean energy. So this was a new space for her, really exciting change in her career. And she's able to combine her experience in data analysis, research, and public policy to do some really cutting edge work. So I will stop the slides and we will bring Sarah up. Jess, if you could spotlight Sarah, that would be excellent. Okay, terrific. So Sarah, welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. So tell us a little bit about what made you come to me.
Sure. So I was sure that I wanted to make a pivot from an academic career into one where I could utilize my skills mainly around, say, data analysis, public policy, project management, communication to diverse audiences, to have more of a direct policy impact. And I kind of wasn't sure where to start. And so I had tried a number of things prior to reaching out to you, some of which worked, some of which didn't. And so I am of the mindset, so I have an academic background. I think I'm pretty good at doing research to come up with ways in which to find solutions to problems, right? So I figured I could find a solution to my own problem of not being able to pivot into a new career. But when that didn't happen, after about 6 months, I had heard about your services as a career coach through a longtime friend and colleague. And so I thought, once you do something for a while and it doesn't end up working out for you, you need to change your approach, right? You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting to have different results. So I thought it would be, I thought there was kind of nothing to lose, and that I might as well give a career coach a try in order to change my approach.
Absolutely. And so you'd been trying, you tried a lot of different things. Tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about some of the kinds of things that you tried during those
Sure.
months that you were searching.
Sure. So, yeah, so I tried a lot of different things, as I think I said earlier. Some of these things worked for me, and some of them didn't. Some of the things that I tried to do while I was, making this career transition, is to update my resume and my LinkedIn. And there are a lot of voices out there, especially voices that help people move or transition from academics into industry. And so I was taking a lot of different advice about how to tailor my resume and how to take the information from my CV and put it into my resume. And after several months, I must have had 5 or 6 different resume templates. I also didn't have a clear idea of what was working and what wasn't, because I was getting some initial interviews for some positions that I would never move on from into, say later rounds. And all of the positions that I got interviews for, I was using different resume templates. And so I thought, well, this isn't very helpful. So that was really a source of my frustration. A couple of things that I did try that did really work, that I think are tried and true, and that are especially tried and true, and things that were definitely outside of my wheelhouse. I would say initially one was networking. So really reaching out to my immediate contacts here. I'm in the Boston area, talking to them about their positions, also doing some research on LinkedIn, thinking about, if I really want to use my skills to have more of an impact in the policy space more directly. What are the types of jobs that I might potentially be interested in and might be able to utilize my transferable skills. The second thing I did was start volunteering. So I became more interested in the area of sustainability, climate change, clean energy, through living in Massachusetts in the North Shore area. So Massachusetts, for those of you who maybe don't live here, we're really kind of, I would say, at the forefront of thinking about climate solutions and clean energy solutions. And so I knew this space was really growing. And I wanted to see how I could, again, kind of pivot my skills into this space. And through volunteering, I accomplished, I think, 2 things. One is really getting this direct experience in policy and impact. And the second was really learning about the industry and making sure that this is what I was really interested in. So learning about new terminology, learning about new processes, and learning how, where my skills were very easily transferable and could adapt, and where I thought I could also add value. So, for example, with this clean energy group that I was volunteering with, one of the things that's really important in the clean energy and sustainability space right now is data. So, how do we measure emissions reductions? How do we measure the impact that we're having on communities in regards to clean energy, sustainability, resiliency? And since I have a data background, I thought, okay, well, this is kind of cool. Maybe I could come up with a little bit of a data strategy for this group, and thinking about how to move forward to measure some of these things. And so that really, I also think, gave me more of a strong background of saying, hey, I have data skills from another area, mainly in social policy and family policy, and I can really use those to impact this space very quickly.
So you tried a number of different things,
Mhm.
during those months before we worked together.
Yeah.
And, some of them helped you increase your clarity and make
Mhm.
some, new connections and build your credentials within the new industry that you were
Mhm.
looking to move into. So you definitely were making some headway. So
Yes.
why did you think that like where were you running into roadblocks, and why did you think that it was, necessary to work with a professional to help you?
Sure. So, like I said, I felt like the networking was working, and I felt like the volunteering, um, getting clarity on the space and how I could transfer my skills, and all of those things seemed to be working. What wasn't working was actually getting job interviews. And so, this actual translation of my skills on LinkedIn and my resume, I would get, an initial interview for a company or an organization. And I never really felt fully prepared for those interviews. And as a result, I was never moving on from a first round interview. And so that was really frustrating for me. And then, so not only was I not moving on, but then I also just wasn't getting interviews. And so I went, I think, like a month or two without, getting any interviews, despite my best efforts at tailoring my resume, tailoring my cover letter, coming up with new templates, or kind of new ideas and how to submit my materials. And I just wasn't getting any traction. And so I thought, all right, I have, I've done this on my own for 6 months. I've really tried a lot of different strategies, some of which, again, I thought were working, but I really needed a push for that kind of like extra clarity and extra assistance.
So it sounds like interviewing was something that you were especially looking to improve upon,
Yeah.
and your job applications and how you were being considered for opportunities because you
Mhm.
were having trouble even getting interviews, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And so tell people a little bit about what we did together that helped you get past those roadblocks, that helped you get more interviews, and then helped you feel really prepared for those interviews. And I will say you had a really amazing amount of interviews with different employers all within a few days of each other. And you had a
Yeah,
lot of work to do to just keep things organized and remember who you were going to be talking to on which day
yeah.
and everything like that. So walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So, I will kind of start with giving you, Erica, a lot of credit. After working together for 6 weeks, I had 4 interviews in 5 business days. And I owe a lot of that to the types of work that we did together. So I think the thing that was key for me was treating my job search like a job and treating that as a job in and of itself. And so I'm a kind of data driven, very organized person. In your job, you come up with, goals and milestones and tasks and ways to keep, your work moving forward. And we did those same types of things in clarifying what I really wanted out of a job. And then how to translate that into not only my materials, but then my interviewing skills. And so it was really coming up with these different themes of looking for specific jobs that I think are tailored towards the main skills from my skill scan report that that I would potentially be a good match for. Laying out the different categories of the job, what it is, what is the industry, what is the pay, what are the different types of things we would be doing. Um, Thinking about the budgeting session that we did, and thinking about, what is the what is my baseline of what I'm hoping or expecting to earn, and how could I potentially build on that? And then I think too, besides setting up these kind of clear goals and milestones and really putting in the work, because I would also like to say that this is a lot of work and I took it very seriously. And again, I treated it like a job, was seeing that progress over time, but then also kind of seeing the confidence kind of build up in me. So I think 2 things. So one is getting somebody who is outside of your community that doesn't know you as well, and they will get to know you, and then they're going to kind of tell you the things that you probably already need to hear. So for example, Eric and I were coming up with my purpose. So what is my purpose in my next job? And we came up with this great statement, and we kept talking, and she was like, there's I would be very surprised if you didn't do something in public policy. So why are you applying for other types of jobs? And I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense to me. And a second thing that happened is I was applying for different types of jobs with different salary ranges as well. And Erica reviewed a cover letter that I sent in. And some of the comments were definitely what I needed to hear, but were along the lines of, this is not a very good cover letter, and this is why. But also, why are you focusing on a job like this when you could be doing ABC, or you could be earning this much more? And it was like kind of it was like that confidence switch in me where I was like, well, if somebody is telling me that I can do this and I can utilize my skills and I can organize my thoughts and I can apply for positions where I am, getting a lot more value added out of not only work-life balance, but packages, and salary. Why not just try it? And so those are some of the types of things, not only the processes and not only the processes and the tasks and the milestones and the goals that we kind of set up in order to help me enhance and move along in my job search, but then also the confidence that you get over time, from, completing something, being satisfied, saying, oh, I completed that task, or I completed that worksheet, or I watched a video about how to really read, um, about how to read a job application, and how to reorganize information in a job application, in order to look at how my skills specifically transfer. And so it was all those things that kind of built up over time. And I thought, yeah, this is I'm going to take all of this and run with it, and I'm going to have more confidence in myself, and then I'm going to take that and, see if something else comes along that maybe I would not have potentially applied for or even had thought about, as we went through these processes, and as I improved my clarity around my job search.
Yeah, and so it was really interesting with you, Sarah, because you are somebody who's highly educated, but sometimes you'd be looking at roles that were, more kind of on the entry level
Yeah.
type of,
Hmm.
scale. And, it came back to that thing I was saying earlier about like undervaluing yourself.
Hmm.
And oftentimes when there's some type of pivot involved, it's easy to
Yep.
say, oh, I don't have like this exact experience, or I haven't
Yep.
been in this exact industry. And so it's necessary to sort of, start from the beginning or take this
Mhm.
big pay cut. So
Exactly.
could you, and you ultimately were able to become a finalist for a couple of different roles. And
Hmm.
then ultimately, you landed a really exciting opportunity
Yeah.
that you're going to be starting soon. So
Yeah.
could you tell us a little bit about how you were able to make that switch in your mind as to like, oh wait, yes, I have transferable skills, I have these accomplishments, and actually it's possible to increase my compensation, not only not just maintain it, but
Yeah.
like really actually you were able to get a very substantial increase in some fantastic
Mhm.
benefits. And sort of, what did the resume writing process that you went through
Yeah,
with my
sure.
partner, how did that tie in as well?
Yeah, so I would say, as far as becoming a finalist for these positions, and really kind of having that change in mindset of confidence to look at different types of positions that I may not have previously done before we started working together. Working with your resume writer really was a value added, for a couple of reasons. So number one was really quantifying my skills, in a way that I definitely was not doing in academics. So seeing that, I have over a decade of experience doing data analysis, project management, leadership, that I'm able to speak to diverse audiences. So I spoke at a lot of conferences about my research. I also taught within classrooms. So I've spoken to people that have, no knowledge of policy at all, to people that are experts in their field. And so really being able to take that, think about how much experience I actually have, and say, wow, like that's really kind of great that I've been able to really build on this over time. And then also with the resume writer, in speaking with her and um, having her redo my materials, is really think about how to take some of the things that I was saying and some of the terms, and translating those into what makes sense for industry, and then being able to utilize a lot of those terms, within my job interviews. And then along with that approach, working with you as well, Erica, in coming up with answers for the interview process. So I will say that was a really time consuming process. Not only thinking about how to structure your answers, how to make sure you're utilizing your skills, and the way that you're talking about your skills within, an interview process, but also coming up with this very strong introduction of, about me, who I am, why I'm applying for this position, and having that confidence in what you're saying when you speak to somebody, in an initial interview, And then in being able to do that over time, and having, I don't know what you called it, but I mean, you basically have this kind of range of ideas and experiences and skills that you can kind of pull from, and then being able to tailor those to what people are actually asking you within the interview process itself, and how valuable that was. And so again, it was all of this building over time, with the different activities that we did. It was working with a resume writer, and then it was also being able to really think about how to translate my skills and think about how much experience I actually do have. So like if you have a decade of experience, or 15 years of experience, you don't need to start out in an entry level position. You have the skills if you can translate them and talk about them in a way that will help a company, a business, an organization solve the problem that they need to solve. They will look to you as having the right type of expertise, even if you didn't completely do if you didn't do a degree in that specific area, or if you didn't have 5 to 10 years of experience within that particular type of job or industry. If you just know how to talk about your skills and how it translates to A, how to solve their problem, and B, how to really understand how to read what the essence of the job is, then the confidence really just grows from there. It takes work and time, I can tell you that, but that's the way that I was really able to shift my mindset. And then honestly, kind of just at it kind of just came to a point where I feel like I have struggled with confidence in the past. And so I kind of got to this point where I was like, well, why not just try to be confident? See if that works for you. If it doesn't, then go back to doing what you were doing in the past. But just try it. Like, just give it a little try. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But what do you have to lose? And so it was kind of right around that time of all of these kind of different things coming together, that somebody that I had met through my network, through my sustainability and clean energy network, who really had gotten the chance to know me very well. He was great. It's like, obviously you're going to reach out to people. Some people are going to ignore you. Some people are really going to take an interest in you. And he was very much just a great person on my side. He sent me this job posting for the job that I did accept ultimately, and it's something that I would have never ever applied for if I wasn't in that particular mindset in that space. And I thought, wow, this seems like something that I could probably do. And then as I read the job posting, and as I thought about my skills and how to transfer them, and um, utilizing all the content and material that I had from Erica and from the resume writer, I really was able to put myself in a position to be confident and move along in the interview process, and ultimately receive the job offer.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Sarah. I'm gonna put up a slide for just a moment as we wrap up. And so just give me a moment for that. All right. Jess, can you confirm that you can see the slide with the QR code?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. So everybody, in light of Sarah sharing her story and the amazing turnaround she was able to have in her job search, working together for just 6 weeks, landing 4 interviews in 5 days, becoming a finalist for 2 roles, landing an offer very quickly toward the end of the year at a time when people say, nobody's doing any hiring. Well, definitely that's not true. And so she just landed that opportunity. She's going to be starting soon in a clean energy role, transitioning from academia into a new space. Really exciting, tapping into the volunteer work that she's been doing. and utilizing all of these skills that she's been building through our work together, I'd like to invite you to book a quick call with me, just 15 minutes, so we can get a sense of whether or not it's a fit, and then I can recommend next steps to you. So I do have a few spots for this week available if you're feeling inspired, if you're feeling empowered, you want to see if you can be a success story just like Sarah, and so many other clients who you can read about through the case studies on my website. Jess has put a link in the chat. You can scan the QR code, grab your spot. We'll figure out what makes sense for you, and you'll receive some more information about what it could look like to work together. We got a lot of questions today, and we got enough questions for this to be an event that is twice as long as it is. But I know a bunch of you also have to get going to different engagements. And so what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be pulling from some of those questions that you shared in the chat today. So if you have more questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat right now before we wrap up. I'm going to be choosing a few of those to respond to in a follow-up. So make sure you're signed up for my email list. Make sure you've added me to your address book and things aren't going into the spam folder. And keep an eye out for a follow-up from me within the next day or two, which will respond to some of the questions that came in today that we didn't have a chance to respond to live during the event. Again, thanks to Jess for being here today, helping things run smoothly. Thank you again to Sarah. Let's give her a round of applause for sharing her story.
Yeah, and I want to also
yeah.
like just pop in really quickly. I see that there were some questions also to me, so I'll work with Erica as well to make sure that we get some more responses to some of those questions that you have in the chat. So sorry about being a little long-winded.
No, thank you, Sarah. We will work together on that. So keep those questions coming in. Keep those congratulations to Sarah coming in. We will gather all of that and then choose a few that we will respond to in the follow-up. So keep an eye out for that. I want to congratulate you all for showing up for yourselves today. You could have been a lot of different places doing a lot of different things, but you showed up, you're investing the time in your learning and growth. You're reaching out to learn. And that is something that is really something to applaud. So kudos to you all for showing up for yourselves today, and wishing you the best with next steps. I hope to speak with a whole bunch of you in the next couple of days for your career GPS call so we can figure out what's going on. Give some thought to this worksheet. We gave you, a lot of content today. Take a look at that, do some reflecting, and I'm excited to support you moving forward. So have a great day, everybody. Take care.